Okay. Hello. So I think one thing that really gets to me is how I've noticed, how I've learned that a majority of the people that I interact with don't really care to do any sort of inner work. Like, I've met people who I believe are doing the inner work, and they're really cool, they're really dope. But a lot of people are intellectually lazy, are spiritually lazy. And I don't know, we could say it's their fault, we could blame them and point the finger at them, but also obviously it is the system at large that like puts the pressure on us, makes it hard for us to even want to move. You know what I mean? But either way, as someone who is doing the inner work, as someone who is doing that reflection, taking the time to heal, it is so frustrating. And what frustrates me even more than someone who doesn't want to do the work is someone who pretends like they do. Those are the worst motherfuckers in my opinion. Like the people who say X, Y, and Z, but then obviously their actions don't align. Like what are you doing? If I could get a little transparent, I'm currently dealing with a situationship, if you will, where it's kind of that kind of person that I'm dealing with. Someone who claims X, Y, and Z. They claim that they want X, Y, and Z, but their actions do not show it whatsoever, And I'm kind of at this place where, like, their assistance is super helpful. Like, I can't deny that. Like, they've been teaching me to drive. They give me money if I ask for it and stuff like that. But, like, they don't feed into my soul. They don't feed into my spirit. And they continuously say that they want to. They continuously say that they wish to see me do well. But it's like, once again, your actions don't fucking show that. You don't feed into me. You don't even, like, inquire about the passions that I have. So, like, what are you talking about? Like, and I don't know, a lot of spiritualists will say that some people genuinely don't have eyes to see. And on some level, I could believe that, but then I don't know, I can't believe that, because if I'm like plainly explaining to you, I'm a pretty good communicator. I'm a Gemini, bitch. Don't test me when it comes to communication. With a lot of Virgo, so I can communicate. So if I'm clearly communicating to you that X, Y, and Z is not working, and I'm saying that this is something that I need to see more of, and you say that you just don't understand, like, what? Like, one thing that a lot of people have been talking about on my For You page on TikTok is the male loneliness epidemic, and how a lot of men specifically, are very apathetic and raised to be very, like, monstrous, if you will. Straight, gay, whatever, it doesn't really matter the gender. I think I was one of the lucky ones. I don't know what happened with me. But, like, a majority of men, regardless of their sexual orientation, are monsters. And we could say this about people. We could take away the genders because I don't like talking like that. But specifically men, are like terrible. And one of the creators that I was listening to was talking about how the only solution to these men feeling this way is them doing that inner work, taking the time to really reflect, ask those hard questions, consider why they're feeling that way, where it's coming, but nobody wants to do that because it's painful. It is very painful. And I have been on this journey of trying to work through this, get over this. And one thing about me is that I'm a very sensitive person, energetically, physically. So even just being around somebody with a certain energy, I can feel that. I can pick up on that on some level. And sometimes it's very visceral. Sometimes it's like, and sometimes I have a hard time differentiating. And I think I've gotten pretty good at differentiating, but sometimes I have a hard time distinguishing whether it's mine or somebody else's. And so I do believe, side note, but also not side note, I do believe that when it comes to, like, people with, like, certain habits, certain addictions or whatever, it can come from external stimuli, in the sense that it's not necessarily just you in your body craving something. It's a reaction to something that's happening outside of you. And I'm a very observant person. A lot of Gemini, a lot of Virgo. I'm a very observant person. So I observe myself. I observe other people all the time. Like, just not without even thinking about it. Just off rip. And so I notice when these feelings come up, when I have these, sensations, and I notice that it's always, without doubt, without a fail, It always comes up when there's somebody present. I don't know how to explain that. Like, from what I've observed, whenever I feel the urge to, like, do the thing that I don't want to do, it's always when there's somebody who comes into my presence that I can feel some type of way about me. You know what I mean? And I'm trying not to look at it as a curse, because that is a beautiful thing, to be able to feel the discomfort of others, to be able to feel, you know, that is a superpower to some degree. Because if I wanted to be an evil person, I could really use it to my advantage. Yeah, I mean, even as a non-evil person, I could use that to my advantage, but you know what I mean. And I don't know, I've explained that to the person that I mentioned before. I kind of veered off from that because I don't really like focusing on things like that make me upset. If I do, I focus on it for the sake of, like, sharing wisdom, you know. But I've shared that with this person, how sensitive I am. And once again, back to the whole people who pretend to be something. Because at some point we were having a conversation earlier on in our relationship. We were having a conversation and we were talking about, like, empaths. And he claimed up and down that he was an empath, that he was sensitive. And I was like, what? What? Like, no. You're the vampire here. I didn't say that necessarily, but, like, it's so obvious to me. And he tries so hard to, like, pretend like he's not. And it's like, I would have so much more respect for you if you could just embrace how, like, dark you are. You know what I mean? Like, because the thing about it, we all have darkness. And if you're not willing to embrace the darkness, if you're not willing to embrace the underbelly of who you are, you can't ever become greatness. You can't ever become more than what you've known, because you're not willing to explore yourself. And that's the thing, like, because I don't want to blame this person. I don't want to, like, because before I started recording this, I was like, fuck this dude, as I'm thinking about, like, whether or not I should move forward from this connection, because I definitely feel called to. And I don't think it's necessary for me to develop that attitude, even though I definitely could. You know, if I were to move forward from this connection, it would be from a place of, like, I've outgrown this, I've learned the lesson, and I don't need this. But I don't know. Once again, the assistance that he brings is helpful, and I hate that I feel somewhat dependent on it, because I know that that's what he wants. And once again, he's not willing to admit his fault. Like, we were in an argument the other day, and sometimes when I get into the heat of the moment, I have a hard time filtering myself. So I will say a lot of what is literally on my mind. I won't be like, oh, maybe I should say it like this. No, I'm angry. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to say what I'm thinking, and you're going to hear it. You know? And so I did say at some point, I was like, it feels like you're getting off on me getting angry, because I'm literally screaming. I'm literally, like, yelling, being like, I don't like being angry. I literally said, I'm like, I don't like being angry. I don't like being in this energy. Like, the energy that I'm, like, bringing right now in this video is a similar sort of energy that I had there. And, like, when I'm making these videos, that's cool. That's awesome. I love that. But, like, for me to be in a relationship with someone, or, like, in connection with someone, and for me to feel that way, it's not pleasant. I don't like that. And I'm telling him, I don't like being angry. I've said that so many times in our relationship. And in that moment, he was like, you know, it seems like you just want something to be angry about. And that pissed me off to no end. And once again, I'm getting infuriated. I'm getting so angry. And he's just sitting there staring at me, sometimes not saying anything. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? And then he has the audacity to say some shit like, I only care about you. I don't ever wish to wish you any harm. And I'm like, okay, that might be fucking true, but your actions are not showing that. Like, you're literally watching me be angry right now, and you're not making moves to fix it. Like, you're just kind of, like, silently provoking me, because I'm telling you that your silence is making me more angry, and you're just, like, staring at me, and, like, you know, and I get it. Some people shut down, but it's just like, once again, for you to pretend and say that you're, like, a sensitive person, like you're an empath. If you were, you wouldn't fucking, like, shut down at my emotions. Or maybe that's not true. Maybe there are empaths who do that. But generally, when you're an empath, when you genuinely, because the difference between an empath and having empathy is that empath is like a superpower. Like you literally physically feel it in your body. It's not just understanding how someone feels. It's literally feeling it in your body. You know, so if you were to feel that, you would do something about that because you're uncomfortable. But instead you just like sit in the discomfort, but somehow you're not able to sit in your own discomfort. Make it make sense. Once again, I didn't really mean for this video to go in this direction. The reminder, I guess, from this video is to be mindful of the connections that you hold. Be mindful of how you show up in connections. I don't know. Remember to drink water today. Be safe, be smart. Have a nice one.